Man, I'm here at the game. I'm doing a wave, but I don't think it's making a difference. When's this game gonna start anyways? You know, in some countries of the world, like in Africa, they remove the clitoris of young girls as part of the culture. And sometimes they say it's young girls, but it's, the stage of becoming a woman or whatever it is. And do you know that this is facilitated by the older women that had this happen to them, that went through the same thing? So culture is something I usually criticize. It's not a race thing when races don't exist among our species. It's a stupid behavior that most people just go along with, and there's a lot of those in Canada as well. Like, for example, mutilating bodies, is it's a sign of stupidity that is growing among our species, and it's not happening over there. It's happening like right here. I was asking a guy at a parts place if he can get the part, and I took pictures of this code on my part, for my vehicle, and he takes my phone and goes, and I say, hey, I didn't give you permission to grab my phone and walk to the computer with it. And today, I'm about to scan things for the pool, and like, I got my little code and I'm putting it close to the scanner, like they would turn the scanner usually when it's on, and like they did at the library earlier today, but she just grabs my keys. I say, oh, is the scanner not working? And she's having and this is a lady that may or may not be in a high profile position there, but she's got the personality type that people don't want to deal with. I don't know if that's how people get promotions. They're difficult in their attitudes. And people avoid conflict or because they don't have life skills, right? Speaking of not having life skills, Community Living BC, I tell you, they keep saying they're teaching life skills and they don't know what it is. So they have helped destroy the concept of humanity, because life skills is very much related to having a human operating system and how we sense what's happening within ourselves, and don't let these triggers kind of interfere with our interactions with others, to create, let's say, win-win scenarios, to understand others because we understand ourselves more, and to give the chance to kind of have somebody self-disclose the same thing and make progress in human communities or human families, which I see even in families, people are confrontational. They don't have these skills, so they compete instead of connect, right? They're not really families, and it's worse and worse. So when people say, Martin, if you're not qualified or certified to teach life skills, when I don't know how much more qualified I can be than taking the course, having the certificate, asking the teacher giving me a reference, and then she's asking me to replace her when she's on vacation, and being voted the master of ceremonies because of how much progress I made in the course, which is very much linked to personal development and how I invested a lot of myself in it, because it's the most important training I ever took in my life. And if we were a human community, this is what we would naturally learn among interactions at school, with our families, with doctors on TV and TV shows. We wouldn't learn the redneckism we're learning in TV shows now, where I'm hearing in the library a parent criticize about another parent, say, doesn't deserve my child. This woman, she's a drug addict, she's a prostitute, and she kind of is too silly not to share this stuff online. So it's an easy case. But the language that person's using in the library, yeah, I think it's going from the frying pan to the fire kind of thing, and all parents stick together with low standards, so it's kind of hard to help a child in a human way. So when the lady grabbed my keys, I'm still trying to understand why she did that. I said, well, it's because this is where your barcode is, and yet when she gives me my change, she doesn't put it in my hand, she puts it on the counter beside my hand. Same thing with the receipt, and this is just a tough lady to deal with. I'm sure she's not at her best life skills with most of her colleagues at work most of the time, but that's who's there, right? and that's the interactions I have. So when I see more and more, especially in this community, mutilation when it comes to tattoos where you can hardly see skin anymore, and nose piercings or other piercings that I might not want to even hear about, you know, and these are nurses, these are educators, these are principals, these are, you know, the role models that you think are okay. So it's hard for me to think I can date a People-Primate that shares DNA with me when, you know, they self-mutilate, and they probably don't know half of what is on their body means and how it relates to things. In the past, I was considering if I ever get a tattoo, it'd be tiny, and it'd be on my head that I shave, and it'd be the happy person symbol, which is the symbol for humanism. And luckily I didn't get that, because humanism is no longer possible, as I've stated at the beginning of the year, because one of its precepts, if that's the right word, is that we can solve our own problems without the help of supernatural entities or aliens or whatever it might be, or magical things or fortune cookies or reading tea leaves or whatever to make decisions in our lives, because let's say we've developed the human thinking tools to manage our own lives and role model these to our kids. We don't have this. So because we can't, it's obvious. It's obvious that climate change is going to get worse, wars are going to get worse, the inability of people to use the higher functions of our brains. I was talking to somebody at the pool who's in his 90s, who had one hell of a career, including building some structures around here that define this place, and he would say, yeah, people are screwed up. And I say, well, like, what do you mean? I say, like, would it be a good way to define screwed up is, I don't think he said screwed up, he said something else, but it sounds like that. And I said, well, is it possible that they can't get better or solve their own problems as they talk about it, and they instead make it worse as they talk about the problems, instead of even trying to solve it? They kind of actually make it worse as they're talking about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, he said. So he's noticing this too, and I'm telling him about my theory, which states that this momentum has been building and accelerating, and that in about 3 generations you can measure this physiologically with MRI, let's say imagery, that we are losing the ability as a collective to use the higher functions of our brains. I've documented it behaviorally, and that could be measured within a lifetime, but to measure it physiologically, I still think it's speeding up so much physiologically, measuring, let's say, brain, you know, with physical sciences, that I think 3 generations is enough to measure it. My theory. Now, if I want to apply for a PhD in sociology or psychology or anthropology or anything that this might fall under, I tell you, nobody will take me seriously. Although they will talk about this, they won't want to put their name to this like I do with my theory on HSD. So it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that I'd love to kiss a woman without hurting myself on metal. That, you know, just the concept of jewelry, how ridiculous it is, and how also some of it is used for mutilation, deforming our bodies. We're devolving our mind, we're deforming our bodies, and this is the people that have jobs that I can't get to reverse the flow in the next generation. So yeah, it's accelerating in many ways. There's a lot of ways this can be measured, and people talk about it, and more and more people are saying I'm too old or I'm too tired for this shit. That they're talking about it, but they don't want to participate in solution, right? Cultural repair. And sometimes they're not even that old. They just survive one day at a time. They're in their 30s and they can't handle the reality of, I'm just going with the flow of being part of the problem, really, is what they're saying. Because solutions, well, it requires Homo sapiens.